Well, I certainly picked a very interesting day to do a comic book index update. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another video with Swagahas. And in this one, we got ourselves July numbers to talk about. Where are we in the state of the comic book market, specifically that of silver, bronze, and copper indices? Now, it's funny. A lot of people have made the joke before about how comic books are recession-proof. Comic books outperform the stock market. And for the last couple years, as we've been doing this comic index update, that is definitely not proven to be the case. But today might be the one time where we get to say maybe comics performed better this month than every other market out there in the world. Or maybe this is a bit of a misdirection. I'm actually going to show you numbers where comic books have now gone to zero. You're just going to have to wait to find out. But before I get into it, if you guys could like, comment, subscribe, I appreciate it. Helps support the channel doing those things. But let us get into this index update here today. Now, if you guys don't know, the comic index update, I take the top 100 sold books per age, silver, bronze, and copper. I pick the highest volume of grade. That's the one I count. I focus on the final sale each month to simulate a market close, and I get all of my info from GPA data. So suffice to say, if I was going to take the top 100 most in-demand, most bought and sold comics within each age, how much would it cost you to purchase them on a month-by-month basis? Now, before I really get into it, also a little bit of caveat here. I know what you guys are going to say. Comics are meant to be read. I know they are, but this is just the one video I do here once a month on my channel, which is just one channel amongst millions of comic book channels, okay, that we dive into this stuff. It's just information. It's just one point of data. I do this for you guys so that you can take this info and, use it however you want to use it in your comic book buying, selling, trading, collecting journey. It's just information. All right. With that out of the way, let's get into it. Last month here in the Silver Age, we were at the $42,265 range. That was a decline of the previous month of around 5%. And it actually looks like the last couple months, the Silver Age has been on the decline. Although if you go all the way back to October of last year, maybe if you're, more optimistic, you can sort of look at it as, hey, we've been kind of trending upward. It really just depends on your frame of reference. So, where do we go here in this month of July? Well, it actually turns out that we went even a little bit down, 41,731. Now, that is a very small amount. I mean, we're talking about 1% here. So there is a margin of error within this. In a lot of ways, you can sort of say that, we've basically made a push. But, if you really start to zoom out, I mean, there's still really no indication that comic books are trending upward overall. I mean, ever since, that of 2021, we've basically been on the decline. Now, if you look at it, from October, we've been on the incline, and, it's just really, really hard to say. I mean, certainly we got a lot of excitement because of San Diego Comic-Con. We got a little bit of the bump, from Robert Downey Jr. and the Doctor Doom books. That could be, maybe what's kind of keeping everything afloat, but is it all temporary? Well, I'm going to table my thoughts and save those for later on in the video. Let's move forward now to the Bronze Age Index. For the month of June, we were at 31,988. And in my opinion, that was a really surprising number. I mean, that was obviously the lowest number we have seen, in the last, 3.5 years or so. And it felt like, the bronze was doing okay for a time, at least at the beginning of the year. So maybe it was surprising to see it go down so low. Maybe it wasn't surprising. I mean, like I said, ever since 2021, I mean, we've been on the decline. So there's, nothing to suggest that we won't continue to be on the decline. I mean, the trend is the trend. That's basically what it's been showing. But you maybe would have thought that it had found its floor, although we've had conversations about how maybe prices actually got inflated as early as 2018, and maybe the actual fair market value is more around the $23,000, $25,000 range, and we still have a ways to go. But either way, where do we go here in the month of July? Well, we actually went sideways down to $31,888. So technically, we went down $100. Now, again, there's a margin of error there. Maybe you guys can consider that a push, but either way, there's no really any indication that things are not continuing to go down overall. But now let's flash forward to the Copper Age Index, and let's see if Deadpool and Wolverine was actually enough of a factor to sort of stave off the decline for this one. Last month, we were at 21,948. Well, where do we go here in the month of July? And everyone likes Deadpool, everyone likes Wolverine, and this was the one index that was actually able to go up to 22,570. And, this is a little something that I probably want to save for another video to sort of talk about. I find it really interesting that, with Copper Age, and also modern age, which also later in the video, I'm going to show you guys the GoCollect indexes, and we can kind of compare notes right here. It's very interesting because copper age and modern age actually had up months, with the here in the month of July compared to bronze age and silver age. And, if you think about it and you look at like all the books that people got, really excited about, with Deadpool and Wolverine, and also, with the Doctor Doom announcement, I mean, a lot of them are just more of that age, which is copper age and modern books. Those are the Doctor Doom books that people are buying. Like, nobody really cares about the Doctor Doom keys from the Bronze Age. Nobody really cares about, some of the, filler keys from the Silver Age of Doctor Doom. And it's because those are the books that the older collectors, really liked and appreciated, and in all likelihood, probably already own. The younger collectors, and by young, I'm putting that in quotes. I mean, we're talking about, 40-year-olds and late 30-year-olds, older millennials here. I mean, the younger collectors, they have more nostalgia to the Copper Age stuff. So, I don't know how much they really care about, the Doctor Doom book that's, the 17th appearance in the Fantastic Four run. I mean, I don't know. I think that they would rather have that what if Doctor Doom was inside Iron Man's body, or Infamous Iron Man #1. I mean, it's an interesting discussion, just overall to discuss. And again, I'll save that for another video. Well, here you see the side by side, but let's flash forward now to kind of the key takeaways to really nail these points home. For silver, we are at 42,265, going down to 41,731, a decrease of 1%. I mean, again, I could have put this as a push, but I do think it's interesting given what's going on with the global economy and stuff. It sort of feels like we should kind of be talking about decreases at this point. Bronze Age, 31,988 down to 31,888. So literally $100. I mean, I think we have to call that a push. And then for Copper Age, July, we were to 22,570, an actual increase of 3%, but you can thank Deadpool and Wolverine for that. Now, Silver Book key takeaways, 18% were down this month, 13% were up. So, a little bit higher on the down overall, 25% non-sales. So again, fairly high. I mean, that's less of a non-sale factor than it was last month, but at the same time, 25%. I mean, that still tells me that there are people who, are unwilling to make those purchases. Again, these are books that are, they're key books, but they're all fairly common. They're all readily available. Bronze Books values, right down the middle, 15 down, 15 up, 14 non-sale, pretty average, month overall, which is why it basically was a push. Now, here is the month-by-month chart. This one I think is always the most interesting. Of course, we're focusing on the purple line, which is 2024, and this is specifically to that of the Silver Age. I have always kind of said that I think that the purple line over the course of this year is going to look similar to that of the yellow line, which was 2020, or maybe similar to that of the cyan line, which was 2023. Basically, we're going to kind of slowly hemorrhage down for, the rest of the months, but I don't think it's going to be these massive, drops of like 10%. And so really the question is, will we start to turn that corner, into December and to January of next year when things start to get maybe a little bit better in the economy? If things are going to start to get better in the economy, it's really hard to say, but generally speaking, feels like we're going to be kind of flirting with the yellow line. We're still flirting with the 2020 prices, but still maintaining a little bit above them, although maybe we're all going to be going to zero. Now, here is the comic book index trend lines. Again, this is not drawn to scale. I just sort of show you this, guys, just to put a visual on it. You could make the argument that bronze is maybe a little bit softer, although there's a lot of books in there that, maybe those books are just never going to come back. I mean, Eternals #1 is one of the books in the Bronze Age Index. I mean, it's still a book that people buy. It's still something that people, generally speaking, will pick up. There's a lot of sales out there, but will it ever go back to its value of 2021? Probably not. I mean, is it even still inflated for what it was selling for in 2019? I mean, that might be the case. So that's kind of why, you have a lot of these books within the Bronze Age, which, who's to say that they're ever really going to sort of turn that corner? But I do still find that to be interesting, and that's kind of why I keep them all around. Silver Age seems to be, kind of right in line to where it should be, which kind of leads us to the bear and bull case, which I think is very interesting to talk about given what's going on, in the current global economy. I mean, here it is, Black Monday. I mean, the stock market had a massive pullback, this weekend. You had crypto having a, massive correction. You had a lot of markets, going down. And now there's a lot of people that are, finally, saying, hey, maybe we're going to be going into a recession. Although, we've probably been in a recession for 2 years. I mean, who's to really say? But, a lot of people now are sort of, coming to that side of the aisle in terms of accepting that. And so you have to sort of wonder, I mean, is that going to filter its way into comic books? I mean, again, it's hard to say because, comic books are slower, right? Like it's not like people are instantly listing it, or it doesn't move the same way that the stock market does. But at the same time, comic books are, lowest priority for a lot of people, or lower on the priority scale for a lot of people. So, if you need money and you need to pay bills, I mean, what are you going to sell first, your comic books, or are you going to sell your stock market portfolio? You know what I mean? And I think for most people, they're probably going to sell their comic books, and that might make its way into the values of these things on the secondary market. Although, again, it moves a lot slower. Comics are not a perfect market. Again, this is not a perfect system. So, you have to all take this with a grain of salt. But it is interesting to go over to GoCollects indexes and sort of see how they're performing. And, when you kind of cross notes, I mean, it feels like, hey, yeah, I'm seeing the same things that they're seeing here, where Silver Age in this past month is down once again. Bronze Age in this past month is also down once again. But they were actually able to say right here in this past month that Copper Age is actually up and Modern Age is actually up. Now, I don't have a Modern Age index to show you guys, but I think that that's very interesting. And again, I think that has a lot to do with Deadpool, Wolverine, a lot of the modern books that people like to collect, these sort of modern variants and things of that nature. And a lot of those Doom books, I'm sure, elevated, something, some of the stuff going on in the modern age. And then, of course, you have Golden Age, which had a little bit of a sideways movement, a little bit of a push, probably no sales to actually calculate. And even the Big Spenders Club. The Big Spenders Club is GoCollect's way of evaluating things like Detective 27 and Action Comics #1. Even those books, you can see here in the past month, are actually down, which, again, brings us back to, the bear and the bull case. And I think that this is interesting. I'm going to do a video probably later on this week to do a little more of a reflection on San Diego Comic-Con. I have more thoughts to go into, with things that I saw and some of the feelings that I've been feeling and the things I've been thinking. And, a lot of people have always said like, oh, Golden Age is the best, or, Golden Age, doesn't go down in value. And generally speaking, I mean, that has been true. But, when it comes to a lot of the Golden Age books, I mean, where is the money coming from to support those things? I mean, a lot of the times it's other dealers buying Golden Age books, or it's collectors selling their Silver Age books to buy Golden Age books. So at the end of the day, it's really just, the same money that exists within the comic book collecting market that is filtering its way into a lot of these books. And, it's kind of like the bridge is kind of collapsing. It's like the Indiana Jones bridge, and everyone is running across, and like the wood planks keep falling off, and you're sort of just jumping from Modern Age to Bronze Age to Silver Age to Golden Age. And eventually, the bridge is going to fall out. I mean, if you don't have new people coming into comics, if you don't have new collectors, joining the market, then of course all the values are going to go down, even the ones that are quote unquote rare in the Golden Age. I mean, that is just obviously true. So really the question is how do you get more people into comic books? And again, I'm going to table that. That's something that's more about, my San Diego Comic-Con sort of experience and observations. I'll definitely go into that more later on. But very interesting. Again, this is just, me doing kind of my evaluation of the comic index update. I know a lot of people, don't always like talking about the numbers, and we want to talk about the stories and things like that. Again, guys, don't get it wrong. I love comic books. I love this stuff. I love collecting. I love reading stories. I just do this as information for you guys because I think it's interesting. I use this information as a way to sort of determine, what I want to buy for my own personal collection. I look at it as far as like, okay, do I think now is a good time to buy insert book? Or do I think that based on this chart, based on where things are going, okay, maybe there might be a better time to buy it in the future. And I sort of use this as a way to be, prudent with my comic book spending. And actually, if I'm talking about the way that I personally buy comic books, I mean, usually I buy raw comic books and I try to find ones that are being sold at discount. I embrace the hunting aspect. And then if I really want to grade them, I'll grade them later, just for me, or if I just decide to sell it. So, I don't often buy graded comic books unless it's, a Golden Age book and there's really no option around it. A lot of times with the Golden Age books, you have to buy them, graded, or, if you want to buy like a major Silver Age key, I mean, it's easier to find a graded version of it than it is to find the raw version. But that's all for this video. That was me giving a little bit of a market report, the comic index for the month of July. Not as bad as that of what we're seeing in the rest of the economy, but certainly we're not trending up either. And this is also, coming off of the month where we had a lot of exciting announcements and a lot of movement out there in comic books. So maybe the numbers were a little bit softened or heightened because, we had so many of the HALL H panel, excitement. So it'll be interesting to see where we go for the rest of the months. I mean, usually August and October and November are a little bit lower if we historically go back to, the charts and see how they have performed even before COVID. I mean, this was the case in 2018 and 2019. So I have to imagine that it'll be like that in the coming months. But the question is, will we ever really turn the corner in the future? Time will tell. Anyways, let me know what you guys think. Thanks so much for watching. Like, comment, subscribe. See you on the next video.